Although a large amount of moviegoers now tend to keep their keisters planted at the end of a film, there was a time when a post-credit scene wasn't exactly a given, and this meant that most of the general public would bolt as soon as those credits began to roll. Well, more fool them. But they also missed out on some specific, though often baffling, little treasures which were hiding in the descending text or coming just after it. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 confusing movie end credits finally explained. Number 10, Lethal Weapon 3 producers bring down a hotel as a favor. After the credits had come to their eventual conclusion at the end of 1992's Lethal Weapon 3, those fans left in the cinema were treated to an extra dose of Mel Gibson and Danny Glover squabbling in a car. In the opening scene of the film, Riggs and Murtaugh inadvertently blow up a building and are abruptly sentenced to patrol duty. However, in this post-credit extra scene, the pair, or rather their stunt doubles, are seen driving up to yet another building which could be about to blow after receiving a bomb threat. Riggs can be heard telling Murtaugh that the bomb squad isn't here yet, before trying to get out of the car to take a closer look. Then, as Murtaugh desperately tries to convince him to stay in the vehicle, the building begins to explode and the pair speed away as the bricks crumble to the ground. At a glance, this scene may just seem like a reckless piece of action fun. However, it was later revealed that the building was actually the 68-year-old Serena Hotel in St. Petersburg, Florida. And the film's producers had agreed to help bring down the structure after it was decided that it would be demolished for redevelopment. Fancy that! Number 9, Help! Elias Howe's sewing dream helped inspire the Beatles. At the height of their popularity, the Beatles starred in their second feature, Help, and the production went on to earn $12 million from a $1.5 million budget. Not too shabby. However, eagle-eyed viewers noticed something rather odd in the movie's end credits. This film is respectively dedicated to the memory of Mr. Elias Howe, who in 1846 invented the sewing machine. Why were the band tipping their hat to the maker of the first ever sewing machine? Well, many seem to believe that Howe made the contraption after he had a dream which consisted of him being surrounded by cannibals who were planning on cooking him. After waking from the dream, Howe remembered that the spears had holes in their shafts and moved up and down. His sewing machine was later famed for its lock-stitch innovation, which involved a needle with a thread in it going up and down. Coincidence? I think not. Apparently, the scene in Help, which involved Ringo Starr being surrounded by cult members who were getting ready to sacrifice him, was a direct callback to Howe's dream. Number 8, Pulp Fiction, I'm Just a Coffee Shop. If you know anything about legendary film director Quentin Tarantino, it's that he's always up for having a bit of fun in his movies. However, on this occasion, that fun extended onto the closing credits of his 1994 hit Pulp Fiction, when a certain character was gifted a rather perplexing name at first glance. Robert Ruth was credited for playing a character known as Coffee Shop. Some fans were then left scratching their heads, wondering who this person was and why they'd been given such an odd name. Then it was later revealed that Tarantino decided upon that name after Ruth's coffee shop manager wasn't able to finish his originally scripted line during the scene where Tim Roth is robbing his shop. After his character was asked if he was going to be a hero, Ruth was unfortunately only able to spew out, "I'm just a coffee shop," before Roth screamed over the top of him. This piece of improvised rage in the heat of the moment gave birth to one of the oddest character names in Tarantino's cinematic history, which is really saying something. Number 7, Back to the Future, Sherman Peabody. The story of Marty McFly and Doc Brown flying backwards through time to 1955 in the first Back to the Future film was one that captivated the world, and it cemented the legendary duo as everyone's favorite time travelers from there on out. However, they weren't exactly the first family-friendly pair to do so. Way back in the 60s, Mr. Peabody and Sherman appeared in the animated series The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends. This particular team enjoyed using Mr. Peabody's Wayback Machine to jump back in time and explore vital moments in human history. So Back to the Future director Robert Zemeckis and fellow screenwriter Bob Gale thought that it was only right to pay homage to the lovable time-traveling pair. When Marty crashes into the Peabody farmhouse in the flick, the young boy who mistakes McFly for an alien is actually named Sherman. This much was revealed during the end credits of the feature when Jason Marin is finally credited as Sherman Peabody. Yeah, lovely stuff. Number 6, Fight Club. David Fincher thanks Andrew Kevin Walker in his own special way. After 1999's Fight Club had left most fans picking up pieces of their brains at the end of the flick, director David Fincher decided that he'd add a respectful nod to one of the unsung heroes who helped him bring his now iconic vision to life. Talented screenwriter Andrew Kevin Walker helped out by doing some uncredited script work on the feature. However, However, he wasn't officially recognized for his efforts with a full-on writer's credit when the film hit screens. Yet that didn't stop Fincher from weaving a special thank you to Walker into the closing credits of Fight Club. In the credits, actors Van Quattro, Marcus Redmond, and Michael Girardin were given the character names of Detective Andrew, Detective Kevin, and, you guessed it, Detective Walker, respectively. This meant that Andrew Kevin Walker's name was stacked up on screen for all to see as the credits tumbled down. Number 5, Scream. Wes Craven fires back at a school board. Famed horror director Wes Craven clearly wasn't a man you want to piss off. It is customary to find a few polite thank yous tagged onto the end of a film's end credits. Yet in the case of 1996's Scream, Craven decided to offer no thanks whatsoever to the Santa Rosa City School District Governing Board at the end of the movie. This odd decision to throw stones at the Santa Rosa City School made more sense when it became clear that the film had originally been scheduled to use that location as its setting. The film's crew all confessed that the school's principal had already verbally agreed to let them shoot there, but this soon unraveled when the school called off the production due to it apparently conflicting with exams. Residents in the area were also not keen on having a slasher flick filmed in their neighborhood, which is a little bit understandable to be honest. Craven eventually found a backup location, however he still felt the need to publicly shame the school at the end of his flick. Number 4, An American Werewolf in London. Producers go back on a Prince Charles gag. During John Landis's brilliant horror comedy An American Werewolf in London, the character of David can be heard resorting to some fairly desperate tactics in order to get himself arrested in one particular scene. David actually screams out that Prince Charles is gay at one point, only he doesn't quite use that word. As shocking as this moment definitely was, most fans in cinemas just awkwardly laughed at the beat and continued on enjoying the flick. However, the film's producers and director Landis clearly didn't want to risk pissing off the royals, and decided to backtrack on the character's outburst in the credits. The message, Lycanthrope Films Limited wishes to extend its heartfelt congratulations to Lady Diana Spencer and His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales on the occasion of their marriage, July 29, 1981, was stamped onto the closing credits in a bid to cover their, or rather David's, tracks. The chances of any member of the royal family actually watching a horror comedy film about a werewolf terrorizing London were fairly slim. However, Landis obviously didn't want to take any chances with his little furry baby. Number 3, Mission Impossible 3, J.J. Abrams thanks the Hanso Foundation. After completely smashing it with TV hits such as Lost and Felicity, J.J. Abrams was given the reins of the Mission Impossible franchise and seized the chance to direct the series' third installment. However, when MI3 was released in cinemas back in 2006, the aforementioned Lost was still something of a global sensation, so Abrams thought it would be quite fun to lace a few nods to the series into his feature debut. At one point, a piece of paper on a desk in IMF headquarters can be seen boasting a remarkably familiar swan logo, which seems to resemble the same logo that Lost's mysterious Dharma initiative use. Going one step further, Abrams then decided to thank the Hanso Foundation in the film's closing credits. Lost fans will recognize this organization as the group responsible for much of the madness that went down on the island during the show's run. This is not the only time Abrams has planted a Lost mention into one of his other projects, as the talented director-producer has previously dropped the show's Dharma Initiative logo into the opening title card of 2008's Cloverfield. Number 2, Sense and Sensibility. Stephen Fry retrieved Emma Thompson's missing script. When Emma Thompson originally wrote her cinematic adaptation of Jane Austen's period novel Sense and Sensibility, you can guarantee that she didn't expect a dodgy computer to play such a big part in the film being made, or potentially not being made as it turned out. As it happened, Thompson was in the closing stages of finishing off her script, which she'd spent 5 years trying to perfect, when her computer suddenly crashed. Yep, we've all been there. She tried her damnedest but couldn't retrieve the file containing the screenplay. So Thompson enlisted a repairman to try and help her salvage the lost writing. Unfortunately, they still couldn't help either. So Thompson turned to her old pal Stephen Fry, as you do, who just so happened to be a complete and utter computer whiz. Fry was incredibly able to save the once lost file, and Thompson went and bagged herself an Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay at that year's Oscars. So the producers went out of their way to thank him in the closing credits of the feature, which is probably the least they could do, to be honest. Number 1, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, a Maori message. Peter Jackson's historic The Lord of the Rings trilogy told the tale of a fellowship of characters all braving the dangers of Middle-earth in order to ensure that the powerful One Ring is dramatically destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom. or a Wednesday as I call it. Yet in order to bring that Titanic story to the big screen, another fellowship of sorts was needed. With the vast majority of the shoot taking place in New Zealand, Jackson decided to respectfully acknowledge the people of his homeland who helped him bring the story to life. If fans chose to stick around after watching the never-ending final film in the series The Return of the King, a message in another language could be seen in the midst of the film's end credits. And no, this is not a language spoken by one of the many Middle-earth races. This is in fact Maori, the language spoken by the indigenous people of New Zealand. When translated into English, the extract reads, "Let us dedicate our memories to the spirits of the Eldar, who came to us from the ocean that lies to the west." Not sure what that means, but it sure does sound pretty. And that's our list. Know of any other confusing movie end credits that need explaining? Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more incredible articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. And I would know because I wrote it. I've been Gareth from whatculture.com. Thank you as always for clicking on this video today, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon. Bye bye.